Is it recording? There. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Fieldstone4U. We haven't done one of these in a little bit. The history of these was, it was COVID time and people were reaching out saying, we still feel the need to connect. There are certain areas that we need some help on. So we started a whole new program, which is our webinar series, and we called it Fieldstone4U. And every so often, something comes our way that makes perfect sense to have it in Zoom format. Obviously, there's nothing like meeting in person, but for something like this, we thought this would be a perfect format. And so we're happy that we have the capability to do it. So COVID taught us how to be quick on our feet and do something along these lines. So I'm Robin Sinclair. I'm the Executive Director for Fieldstone Leadership Network. Robin Stropko, wave Robin Stropko. Robin does everything else. She's the glue that keeps us all together and makes sure that everything happens at Fieldstone. So if you get emails from Robin and they are meant for me or whatever, either way, we will get the email to the right person. So never hesitate to send it to somebody. It will always get to the right person. One of us will get back to you. I'd like to just share a little bit about Fieldstone. We have some learning groups that just wrapped up. We wrapped up 2 of our senior manager learning groups. So we were very excited to send them off into the nonprofit space, empowered and supported and connected. And it was a great send off for 2 of our cohorts. We have our executive learning group that is our CEO cohort that just started. So I see Marissa. Marissa is in the group, and then Andy's wife, Donella, is in the group. So we have a wonderful cohort of CEOs that just started. So that's exciting for us. Usually we start that in January, but we had so many of the other that we ran 2 at that time, and we pushed this one out to summer, and it's working great. Creative Encounters is one of our team building programs that we offer. We just did it for purpose of recovery. If your organization is looking to have some team building, it's a great opportunity for summertime. We do it outside in a park, and it's just a great way to bring boards and senior leaders together. We can do it in groups of 12. We've done it we did one for Families Forward last year where I think we did up to 50 people. So it can be anywhere from 12 to 50 people. Our executive coaching program is going strong. That starts in January. I see Yvette's on the call. Yvette is actually being coached right now as we speak. So if you're interested in executive coaching, reach out to either one of the Robins and we will get information to you. We started a new program this year, which is individual 360s. So if some of your team at your organization is looking to get an idea of where their leadership is, how they relate to others, how people see them, how you see yourself, how the people you report to see you, is a great opportunity to get that 360-degree view of your leadership. And then I would provide that hour feedback session to you. So we're doing that for organizations as well. I'm working with boards where we come in and kind of provide best practices in a certain area. And then if the board needs additional help in certain areas, we can offer that as well. We just wrapped up our reading group. We will start again in September. So if we have any readers on the call, Robin will be sending out something probably this week with the application, and that starts September and that runs through May. And then our speaker series is our Crossroad and Turning Point. So we have one coming up on how to hire C-suite, best practices around hiring. We just had one recently on having difficult conversations. We had one on succession planning. We have one on emotional intelligence coming up. So those are in person. So if any of your organizations would ever like to host us, we are always looking for organizations that can fit about 40 people. We would love to have it at your organization. And then what we like to do afterwards is give those guests an opportunity to tour your organization so that they can get more information about what you do and who you serve. If you have an organization that has, smart technology, we'd love to work with you. Reach out to Robin Stropko and she will save that information. General housekeeping, just mute. I see most of you are all muted. You know the drill. So mute until you have a question to ask. This will be interactive. So if you have a question, you can put it in the chat. Robin Stropko will be monitoring the chat. And if there's something that needs to be addressed right away, she'll flag Julia down and Julia will stop. Otherwise, there will be plenty of time at the end for Q&A. Thank you for renaming with your organization if you have joined us since then. I think everybody has done that, so we appreciate that. I want to introduce our speaker, Julia Self. First, I want to shout out to Eric Reese. He's not on the call, but Eric is the one that introduces. So Eric is the founder and CEO of the Jesse Reese Foundation. And Eric reached out to me a couple months ago and said, you need to meet this person. She's a dynamo. She'll be really helpful to your network. So if you know of people in the community that you think would offer interesting subjects, we're always looking for subject matter experts in the community to share their knowledge with our network, please reach out to me and I'd love to coordinate something. So that's how Julia came to us. So Julia is with UIS Technology Partners. She brings over 14 years of experience helping mission-driven organizations grow, innovate, and make an impact. With a strong background in the nonprofit sector, she's worked with nonprofits to scale their impact through fundraising. Now stepping outside the nonprofit world for the first time, she serves as the Chief Growth Officer at UIS Technology Partners. And UIS supports nonprofits by making their daily IT a breeze and while keeping their data and systems secure. So without further ado, Julia, it's all yours. And thank you so much for giving of your time and your talent, and your expertise to all of us.
Of course. So happy to be here. Thank you so much, Robin. And so happy to be here with all of you. I see some familiar faces. I'm sure I've seen you around at a couple of different events and things like that, maybe AFP or 10C. It feels very weird to be on the other side of nonprofits, being that that's where I spent my entire career and now being in the technology space. But I feel like it's a really good merriment of the two because I still get an opportunity to help support amazing organizations like all of yours, while in an area or a field that I know that can sometimes be a little bit daunting. So my goal is to make it super simple and easy, and help maybe give you guys some great tools to take with you back to your organizations, to help make sure that things are secure and safe and that your fundraising continues to grow. So I'm going to share my screen here. Give me 1 second. There's going to be a couple of things here, and I'm going to play this. Oh, we're not at the end yet. Don't worry, we still got a lot to go. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start from the beginning. So welcome to the Cybersecurity Awareness Training webinar. We all know that in today's digital world, every click counts, and every employee within an organization plays a vital role in protecting their nonprofit. So why is this important that we're talking about this? Cyber threats are more sophisticated than ever. And one mistake can cost organizations precious donor information, finances, and trust. So today, my hope is that you'll learn more about the current landscape of phishing attempts, cybersecurity awareness steps that you can implement within your nonprofit. And the goal is for you all to be cybersecurity champions and to share your knowledge with your team and colleagues to keep your mission thriving and protected. So I know Robin already gave me a great introduction, but I've spent the last few years within the nonprofit sector in fundraising and leadership, now transitioning over into technology, but still helping nonprofits. I've had a lot of experiences when it comes to hacking incidents and technology headaches. And because of that, I've just really become a champion of wanting to help make sure that other organizations can avoid all of that and help keep their donors feel safe, secure, and have their organizations be set up for success. But before I kick off into all of the fun stuff, and I promise I'm going to try to make this exciting and not super boring because it's technology, I'm going to share this video. Some of you may recognize this person on the screen, from the network Bravo. And the intention is just to share with you that no one is immune to these hackers and phishing scams, and how creative a lot of these threat actors have actually become. So hopefully you can hear. Give a thumbs up if you're a thumbs down if you're having any issues, or a thumbs up if things are going well. So watch this.
We are back with our good friend Andy Cohen, and this morning he has a really important message about the dangers of imposter scams.
Okay, Andy became a victim when his bank accounts were hacked. And of course, Andy's not by himself. Imposter fraud has been the most reported scam for years.
Yeah, so it happens when a scammer pretends to be someone else, like a government or, in Andy's case, a bank employee, to steal a victim's money or personal information. More than 600,000 cases were reported in the U.S. last year. It cost Americans $2 billion. Andy, good morning.
Good morning.
It's sort of like Andy, how we haven't seen him.
I know.
Andy's coming on to talk about getting.
I know we want to talk about the Salt Lake City reunion last
do.
night, but this is serious, and I really don't want this to happen to anyone, which is why I want to talk to you about
So you
it.
started off, you just lost your bank
I
card.
lost my bank card.
Yeah.
Fine. Reported it lost. The next day, I get an email that looked like it was from my bank's fraud alert.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Because I had lost my card, I was like, oh, this must be real. I didn't click on the email address. You need to click on the email address, even though it may say the name of your bank. If you click on it, you can see that it's not at yourbank.com.
Yeah.
It's from something else. I didn't check. I clicked the link, which took me to my bank page. They asked me to sign in. I signed in. What I did there was give these scammers access to my account. They then asked me for my Apple ID. No one will ever ask you for your Apple ID. I said, this is a scam. I got off. I didn't think anything of it.
Okay.
I had already given them access. The next day, I get a text. Someone's trying, it looks like it's from my bank. Someone's trying to use your credit card at X place. Is this you? No. I type.
Click, yeah.
The phone rings. Again, the caller ID says it's from my bank. I pick it up. They say, this is X fraud alert. I said, yes, that's not me making that charge. Now, because I had given these hackers access to my account, they said to me, we want to go through some of your past charges and see if these are yours. Did you charge this? Yes, that was me. Did you charge this? Yes, that was me. So now I'm in. And they're like, we're going to send you some codes. Tell us what we send you. What they were doing then, they sent me 3 codes. They were initiating wire transfers
Oh my God.
out of my bank account.
Oh my God.
I think I'm on with my bank. And they were so good. Whoever you are, I hate you, but you are very good at your job.
So you sent the codes.
I'm telling them the codes over the phone.
And the codes are authorizing
codes are
money
my
being
bank
wired.
texting me, authorizing these transfers. They then did something so nuts. And I'm on the phone with them for a long time.
Yeah.
And I had told the woman, wow, I got this email yesterday. I realized it was fraud when they asked for my Apple ID. The woman said, we would never ask for your Apple
Oh
ID.
my
And
God.
she's
You're my friend. You're my friend. Thanks
Okay.
for protecting me. They then say, we want you to get your keypad up on your phone. Put these numbers in. I do it, and I don't understand what's happening. For 1 second, something flashes on my phone. I happen to take a screenshot of it because I was like, this is weird. I said, it says caller forwarding activated or something. She goes, just dismiss that. That's what came up on my phone.
Oh.
That's the screenshot. It activated call forwarding.
Succeeded.
What that did was, I was on the phone for an hour with this woman.
Oh my God.
I got off. And what happened is when the bank called me to ask me if I was doing these wires, because they call you to say they were sizable wire transfers. The calls had been forwarded to the
scammer.
This is so elaborate.
It is, but I
wait, they
consider
were-
myself a smart, functioning member of society.
Yeah,
right?
you're not falling for the easy
Exactly.
scam, but they were so.
How did you learn that they were taking money out of your account?
It seemed odd. And I called my bank fraud after that because they had said to me, we're going to call you back in a half an hour. They never called me back.
Oh.
And so I was like, this is weird. And I kept leaving things for the bank to call me back. They weren't calling me back.
Yeah.
The calls were being forwarded to these people. My phone was silent all night. I said, you know what? I'm just going to go into my bank the next day.
Yeah.
I went into the bank. We were going through it. They said, oh, these wires were initiated. When
Did your heart
money
sink?
Yes. When money is wired out of your account, it's gone. The people have closed the account. This is an active case with the NYPD cyber security unit, but it's very easy to fall prey to.
Can I just say, I know you don't want to give a dollar figure.
Yes.
But it
it's
was
enough that
significant.
I'm on the Today Show talking about it.
Right.
It's nothing that, listen, I'm not proud of this,
No.
but it's enough that I really want to share it. I've taken my family through it. I'm always warning my parents, Mom, Dad, be careful. If someone calls, don't give any information. But here it happened to me, and I just don't want it to happen to anyone else. Trust no one who calls you. Say, I will call you back.
I'll call you back.
Or get your bank card and say, I'm going to call the number on my back of my bank. Even better, go to your bank yourself.
And you didn't call the number because you didn't have your card because you had lost your card.
That is exactly right.
Yeah.
I also thought, well, this woman's trying to help me. She was very good at her job. She sounded like my advocate.
Yeah.
And she had access to my account,
Right. And
which I had stupidly
when she
given them.
said never give your Apple ID to anybody, you were probably like, thank you, lady.
Right. And she's saying this person is trying to charge your card. Do you want to prosecute them? My bank said we would never ask that. We automatically prosecute anyone who's tampering with your account.
So some things that you can do. You can check the email address. That's number one.
Check the email address.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Click on it always. When you get a text, when you get a call, don't get sucked into the urgent moment of it. Like, you need to do this right now.
Right.
Take a breath and just go to your bank or call the number on the back of your card.
Yeah.
Have it handy. Nothing needs to happen now. A lot of times these people call and say, time is of the essence. You have to do this now. Oh, let me get my information. Let me get it for you. Don't do that.
Wow. To be someone else, like a government.
So that actually happened. It's really mind-blowing how sophisticated these hackers can be and how they can prey on us. So what do we want to take away from this example? Well, first, this is a textbook case of what is called social engineering. So the scammers exploited Andy's human behavior and trust. It also shows us how phishing and vishing, which is voice phishing, can work hand in hand. And I'll be sharing a little bit more about that in a couple of slides. And in the end, it became a full-blown account takeover leading to unauthorized wire fraud. So this is definitely an extreme case, but I did want to just share that this is an example of what can happen. And I think, Lynn, I see that you have your hand up. Did you have a question?
Yeah, hi, Julia. I just wanted to make a quick comment on the two things that we brought it up twice about checking the email address. But we just had an issue with one of our homemade affiliates where the email address was the right email address. So you can't necessarily rely on that as well. The hackers get in and they will take over your email address and start sending stuff. So just something to be aware of.
Yes, thank you so much, Lynn. I appreciate you saying that. I actually, I have a slide in a couple moments here to kind of talk a little bit more about that, but it is true. A lot of times hackers will spend time in your environment and then gain access to actually get that exact email address. So there are new things to kind of look out for when we're talking about those business email compromised emails. So I'll kind of go into that, but yes, you're very right, Lynn. Thank you. Okay, so let's kind of look back. I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about 2024 and then in comparison to 2025 and some things to kind of look out for. So in 2024, we saw an increase in phishing click rates. And then when I talk about phishing, that's typically through email. And those click rates tripled in 2024 with 8 out of every 1,000 users clicking on a phishing link each month. This marked a 190% increase in comparison to 2003. So these threat actors are increasing over the internet. So something to just kind of be mindful of. Email-based threats, nonprofits experienced a 35% rise in email-based threats over that last year of 2024. And in general, cyber threats in 2024, on average, organizations faced approximately 2,200 cyber attacks daily, which is about one attack every 39 seconds. So they're very active out there, and they're on a mission. And lastly, nonprofits reported that they saw a 68% in experienced data breaches, according to Cyber Peace Analytical Report. So again, when we talk about those data breaches, we're talking about our donor data, anything that's financial or personal information. So definitely seeing an increase there. So what do we want to look out for this year? I know we're kind of already halfway through the year, but doesn't mean we can't start making sure we're being aware now. So obviously since COVID, the workplace had changed. Many nonprofits have a work from home or maybe hybrid environment. And sometimes that means that these workplaces are decentralized. So IT security programs can sometimes be less effective or just harder to manage if we're not prepared. So making sure that we have employees have the proper training is really important. And since we know that these cybersecurity incidents are increasing, and a lot of that is because these threat actors are using diverse channels to phish, as we saw in Andy's experience. So I'll be sharing a little bit more about cybersecurity awareness steps that you can take and bring to your organization in a couple of slides. Couple of more statistics here. In 2024, we have a report from the IBM Threat Intelligence Report and Statistica. So 95% of cyber attacks happen because of mistakes that people make. So again, just being training employees, they are your first line of defense, and making sure that they're hyper aware, because if employee-based access is really going to be that highest point for these threat actors. 50% of adults worldwide use employer-issued devices for personal activities, which can open up the door for some of these threat actors. I'm not going to have people raise their hand to admit if they do that or not, but again, we just want to make sure that we're informing our team that if they have a work computer or a work phone, that they are only using that for work purposes. Now, I know some of nonprofits, at least some of the ones that I've worked at before, we had our own personal devices, and we typically get a stipend to use our personal phone. But it's really important to make sure that any work information that is used on your phone has extra security on that. So I'll talk a little bit more about how you can help manage that from a security standpoint. So a couple of phishing scams. I'm not going to go through all of them because there's a lot, and I definitely want to get through most of these slides here. But there's a lot of different types of scams that are out there. So I'm just going to kind of give you like the most popular ones, just something to keep in mind. Also, I think the names are kind of hilarious. So we've got spear phishing. So this is a targeted scam. This is an email that might use your name or job title to seem more real. And it's personalized to fool people more easily. We've got our classic email phishing. This is when you get an email that looks like it's maybe from a trusted company, maybe Cox, or sometimes I know DocuSign has been sending a lot of these. I don't know if anyone's seen that one. If you have, give a thumbs up. So the goal is to trick you into clicking or opening a dangerous file, which typically leads to ransomware. So anything that looks like a familiar company, or UPS, I know that one has come through a lot too. So making sure that, again, you're really taking a close look at those emails. Phishing, which is the phone scam. So this is what we saw with Andy. Scammers will call and pretend to be from your bank, the IRS, or even tech support. And the goal is to get your personal information or those logins so that they can get access to those other pieces of financial information. We've got whaling. Whaling is also called CEO fraud. And this can target top leaders like your executive director or CFO. And the attacker typically will pretend to be someone important and ask for money transfers or sensitive information. We got social media phishing. So social media phishing is when scammers use fake profiles or messages on platforms like Facebook or LinkedIn to trick you into giving up personal information or to click on harmful links. So there's a few more in here. I'm going to be able to provide this deck over to Robin and Robin to send to you. But as you can see, there's a lot. The business email compromise one that's on the bottom, I'm actually going to get into that right now. So we have business email compromise. I think this is the one that's probably the most popular with scammers right now. In the industry, it's a growing cyber threat where attackers typically pose as a trusted leader, like an executive director or maybe even a board chair. And the intention is to trick staff into sending money or sensitive information. BEC attacks or business email compromise are highly targeted and can be very convincing. So why are nonprofits at risk of this? Well, typically we rely on trust-based communications, and sometimes we have limited cybersecurity budgets, and we handle donations, grants, and sensitive donor information. So we have access to a lot of that, and hackers know that, and so that's why we are more at risk. We are definitely more appealing in that sense. So common BEC scams in nonprofits are that executive impersonation. So a scammer will send a fake email from a CEO or executive director to request an urgent wire transfer or maybe gift card purchases. I know I've gotten that email a ton of times, often under the guise of confidentiality or time sensitivity. So as you can see on the screen here, there's a couple of things to highlight. So obviously the email does look fishy. As Lynn just mentioned earlier, hackers are getting a lot better. If they are already in your environment, they can make that email look exactly like your actual email. So sometimes that's not always a giveaway, but it's always good to look. Another thing is that urgency. So you can see this needs to be done today, make it a priority, as that's kind of what Andy was talking about too, like basically making it everything has to be done now. And then another giveaway is being unavailable to like make that phone call. So here you can see the CEO is saying, I can't take a call, so you can just reply back to this email. One thing that I know in the last organization I worked with, we did come up with a protocol where if we ever saw something that was fishy, that we would either walk right into that office of that person, or we would actually call them on the phone and say, hey, did you send this email, before clicking or taking any action. And then what's the impact? So the FBI reported that business email compromise scams has caused over $50 billion in global losses since 2013. And for nonprofits, this can mean a few things. This is lost donor or grant funds, exposure of donor or beneficiary information, legal or compliance issues, especially if depending on your mission and who you work with and who you support, and then reputational damage that can impact trust and future funding. So we want to be super mindful, and we want to make sure that we are training our employees to really know what to look out for. So how can you defend your nonprofit? What would a long-term plan look like? So number one, you really want to make sure you're educating staff and volunteers too. Some organizations do have volunteers that have access to computers, so making sure that they have an understanding of this education as well is going to be really important. Training your team to recognize those phishing attempts and any suspicious emails. You can run simulated tests to test awareness, and really encourage a no blame culture where staff feel safe asking questions or reporting issues, especially if you do have a hacking incident happened. I know I've been places where that's happened. Making sure that nobody is at blame, because you really want to make sure that you're keeping those lines of communication open for your team to report if there's anything that happens in the future. Strengthening your financial process, so requiring verbal confirmation of any financial requests, especially when it comes to wire transfer or payment changes. I know that this has happened to a friend of mine. The person in charge of payroll got an email request from quote unquote her to update her banking information for her direct deposit, which was updated. And then lo and behold, Friday came and my friend did not get her paycheck because the hacker actually got her paycheck. So they did not have a verbal policy in place to require any other additional information to make those changes. So putting those things in place, very simple and easy to do, and can definitely help avoid situations in the future. Clearly document or communicate those financial procedures with the team, and then limiting who can authorize or initiate transactions. I know I worked a lot with corporate donors in my last role, and I worked with my CFO very closely on anything that was related for wire transfers, especially sending information over to corporate donors. Just making sure that you have a really good process in place for that is very important. using technology wisely. So again, in the future, just making sure, I think the simplest thing you can do is if you don't already enable multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication, sometimes you'll be hearing it referred to as MFA on all email accounts or any other tools that you use, any donor databases, fundraising software, things like that. Typically, there's a two-factor authentication. Making sure that's enabled on everything is like a small win and will definitely protect, help and make a big difference as far as security. Using email filtering or phishing detection or fraud monitoring tools is also going to be really important under that technology area. If you don't already have something like that, there are companies and organizations that can help you get that. So that's going to be something that's really important. And regularly auditing account access and permission. So not everyone should have access to everything within your organization. So really making sure that you're very strict on, a volunteer is not going to have the same access or availability as somebody else, or maybe your development specialist is not going to have the same access as your advancement director. So making sure that those are really laid out. And then having a response plan. So making sure that if a scam is suspected or does happen, to stop the transaction immediately by calling the bank, notifying either your IT team, your provider, or whoever is managing your IT to investigate what happened and to make sure that we can block the future attack. And then review and update any policies to prevent incidents like that happening again. So cybersecurity is not just an IT issue anymore. It's the responsibility of the entire organization and all the employees in it. But by raising awareness, improving processes, putting in the right tools, and really having your entire employee base feel like cybersecurity champions, it's really going to help protect your organization without breaking the budget. So a quick poll, which I'm just going to ask everybody to kind of give a reaction. So you could do a heart or thumbs up or whatever you want to do. But if you want to just go ahead and read this, it's with the recent boom of AI, do you find that your inbox is being targeted by phishing emails or smishing, which is SMS texts, more frequently than before? So you can go ahead and throw up those reactions. I got a few thumbs up. Yeah, same here. So definitely huge increase. I know over the Memorial Day weekend, I think I don't know if anybody got the toll road text message like a million times, but that was intentional. That happens because people are traveling for the holiday. And if you're not from the area, that's a perfect opportunity for those threat actors to try to get some money. So I'm glad, hopefully nobody fell for that one. So where to start? I'm sure you might be thinking, Julia, this is all great and dandy, but where do we start? Oh, Robin, was someone in the chat had a question?
Now me.
Okay, great.
So I've gotten the toll roads one a lot lately. I just got one that was, you have a ticket outstanding, which I thought was interesting, from the DMV. DMV. I've gotten it twice recently. So.
Yep. Yeah, that's another one. I've gotten that one too, I think. And I think what's interesting too is about the messages, especially if employees are using their personal phone for work and if they're getting a stipend for their work phone. That's something that can be, something to really monitor and to kind of look at as far with all the employees that you are working with that maybe use those personal phones for work. Because typically they might have Microsoft or Google Suite, depending on what you use for communication, loaded on their phone. So if a threat actor is able to gain access in any way, all of that information is available via the phone. So again, we think sometimes if we get those personal SMS phishing texts or smishing texts, that it's just to our personal phone and it doesn't matter. We just have to be really mindful that giving that access can actually open the door for access to other things that we don't want hackers to have access to. Okay, so I want to be mindful of time here. So what can we do to kind of take steps as soon as today, even next week? Number one, training staff on cybersecurity awareness. I'll give you a little bit more detail on that. Number two, putting multi-factor authentication on everything. I can't stress this enough. This is such an easy thing to do. And then to make it a requirement of all your employees. So depending if you use Google Workspace or Microsoft, any donor databases or remote logins, requiring that two-factor authentication is going to be a huge, huge win for you because it'll block about 99% of password-based attacks. Number three is keeping systems and software updated. So old software, it's a easy way for hackers to exploit any vulnerabilities. So setting automatic updates for operating systems on your computers, antivirus and any applications that you have, making sure those things are up to date. I know I have totally fallen prey to this where I think I see the update and I'm like, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. Okay, I'll do it tomorrow. All right, I'll do it next week. But it really does matter to keep those operating systems up to date. Backing up any critical data. So making sure that if you're not using the cloud, if you do have an organization that still uses a server or you're logging into a VPN, ensuring that you're backing up your data almost every day. I mean, I would definitely recommend to do it every day. You can schedule automatic data or backups, and you can do the test. You can test it a monthly recovery. So super important to back up that data, or even if you have an external hard drive and you're backing up your data that way, super important. And then number five is limiting access to sensitive information. So again, this is something that you can do with your team or your executive team. You can go look through, assess who has access to what, and do they actually need access to that? So using role-based permissions, I know that Microsoft does a really great job of that in OneDrive and SharePoint. And then removing any ex-employees. I know this has happened before to me at other places I've worked where there's this person who hasn't been here in 3 years and somehow they're still listed there. So going through, making sure those people no longer have access is really important as well. So those are some 5 steps that you can take as soon as today, tomorrow, this week, to really just start improving that security culture. And then moving into more cybersecurity awareness training for your employees. So if people want to just give me a quick poll really quick, who here is already using a cybersecurity training tool, like a platform that they use internally? If you want to just give a thumbs up. No? Okay, and then can everyone give me a thumbs up if they're already have a cybersecurity awareness training program that they've created for their team? Give me a thumbs up. No? Okay, that's okay. That's right. That's why we're here. So the goal for improving your security culture and making your training awesome is the intention is to make it fun and kind of gamify it if you can. Also, a lot of trainings can tend to be a little dry. Hopefully this is not as dry as this. But we really want to make sure that we're giving a lot of this cybersecurity training in small bits. I know that one organization that I worked at, we did some training and we did it on a monthly basis during our monthly team meeting. And we literally only spent 10 minutes at the beginning of the meeting talking about one specific area of cybersecurity. So whether that was how to spot phishing attempts in emails, we talked more about SMS texts because I've gotten the gift card text before while using a work phone, talking about protocols when it comes to financial processes, things like that. So making sure that those trainings are in small bits and pieces and just including that 10 minutes, 5 minutes into a meeting that you already have is a super simple way to keep things top of mind. Another quick poll, you can just type it in the chat. I'll give you a couple of options. What do you think is the biggest cybersecurity threat to your organization? Is it phishing attacks via email, weak passwords, insider threats? That's probably less common, or maybe unsecured devices. So devices that are not locked when people leave their desk, things like that. So phishing attacks, weak passwords, or unsecured devices. Phishing, yep, weak passwords. Okay. And that's a good one. Weak passwords for sure. Definitely creating a policy where people are changing their passwords on a monthly basis. Very, very key and very important. And ensuring that the passwords for one application is not the same for another. Got it. Okay. Thank you all for sharing. Yeah. We're all on the same team here. We're all on the same page. So I'll get more into some cybersecurity training awareness steps. So step one is understanding that everyone has a role. So again, every employee from volunteers to executives need to know that one mistake, like clicking the wrong link, can lead to data loss or even trouble. So just talking about it and understanding that everyone is a security champion within your organization kind of starts to give everyone that accountability. Number two is setting clear policies. So again, making sure that security policies are simple, clear, and accessible. So I know sometimes we get those employee handbooks and then we put that new memo in a handbook and we fold the handbook, put it on a shelf, and we never see it again. So finding a place where we can really put those policies that are clear and visible, maybe in a lunchroom, or maybe again, just bringing it up and talking about it in those monthly meetings that you already have scheduled with your teams. Cover things like changing your passwords on a monthly basis, making sure that you have an incident response plan if something happens and that everybody knows what to do. Again, those are little bits of pieces of information that you can create those short trainings and kind of gamify it and make it a fun quiz. You can even use like a Google survey or a Microsoft Teams survey to send out to your staff. And again, just having that consistency is going to be really important, and making sure everyone knows what those policies are. Teaching people what threats look like. Again, this can be done as part of these short trainings that you do throughout the month or quarterly, however you want to set up that schedule of how you train. Your staff doesn't have to be cybersecurity expert. I am not a cybersecurity expert, but we all should know how to spot those red flags on those phishing emails, any sketchy websites, suspicious links. And then there's tons of examples online. You can just Google some examples and just use those to kind of share with your team of what that looks like. Number four, strengthening the password habits. Again, reused passwords. That is a very, very easy thing for hackers to use, because they know if you use it one place, you're probably using it other places. So adding that multi-factor authentication, or two-factor authentication is also what it's known, is going to be super important. Locking down devices. So with remote work and even mobile devices, reminding staff to keep personal and work use separate, and making sure that devices are always secure. That's going to be super easy to do, and make sure that that's something you train your employees on. Backing up data every day, step 6. And then step 8 is keeping that training fresh. So having kind of if you have one person in your organization that wants to take this on, it can be a lot of work, but once you do it, just kind of making sure that you're updating that regularly and not using the same thing over and over again. Why is this important? So investing time and money now, or investing more later. So we all are very busy. I know in nonprofit, everyone wears a lot of hats. I've been there. But when you invest in this area and cybersecurity awareness training for your employees, a few things can happen. One, you have a reduction in downtime. So if a cyber incident happens, good, hopefully not. There tends to be a lot of downtime, which can be weeks or sometimes days or weeks. This could mean missed donations during a campaign window if you're running a campaign, maybe interrupted services to communities in need or who you're serving, and then wasted time of staff that are trying to recover from avoidable mistakes. Number 2, it's really enhancing donor trust and reputation. So, nonprofits, we rely on the trust of our donors. Our donors believe in our mission, and they trust us with their personal and financial information. So a data breach doesn't threaten files and things that are on SharePoint or whatnot or on our computer. it threatens relationships. And so making sure that your donors know that you have a have a robust cybersecurity training program, posture, it shows donors that you're really serious about protecting their information and builds trust even further. And then number 3 is lower insurance premium. So if everyone wants, feel free to give a thumbs up if you have cyber insurance or if you have looked into it. Okay, if you don't have cyber insurance, that's okay. When you have a really strong cybersecurity awareness training program for your employees with the 2-factor authentication enabled on all platforms, as well as what's called endpoint detection and response, which basically just means it's a tool that is monitoring any malicious activity on any computer at any time and can respond to that, you have an opportunity to have lower insurance premiums and save some money. A lot of insurance carriers these days are requiring these things in order to even cover you. And if you have additional tools in place, like firewall, antivirus, and other cybersecurity tools, it can bring your insurance premium even lower. So again, making these small investments and making sure that your cybersecurity posture is really strong is just going to benefit you in multiple ways. One thing that we do at UIS Technology Partners, we have a tool called Know Before. It's an LMS system or learning management system. Basically, it provides a couple of things. It provides interactive training, simulated phishing emails, so fake scam emails to your employees to see if we can kind of catch them, which can kind of feel mean, but it's important to do because it trains your employees, and then clear reporting tools. So we typically run a baseline test at the beginning. Once we get started, everyone will get the same fake phishing email, and then but only leadership knows that we're actually sending it. And then essentially we get a baseline of where your staff is at. After that, we introduce the platform, explain to the staff what's coming, and then get started on the different training modules. The videos are typically short, anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. Again, keeping those things really short is very key. And then from there, the Know Before app, the tool will run these phishing tests and offer training sessions on a monthly or quarterly basis. So it's just a great way to train your employees without having to create something yourself. So that's something that we typically offer our partners and our nonprofits that we work with. The goal is for nonprofits, the average is about 20% for what's called a phish prone percentage. So it's how prone you are to a phishing attempt. So anything low, UIS, we try to get under 10%. So that's typically good. But again, there are tools out there like this that you can use if you didn't want to create something yourself. Where are we? 5:53. Okay. So how can security awareness training help your nonprofit? So one, just covering, we can avoid security threats, create an improved security culture, keep your fundraising dollars secure, and to mitigate cost and consequences. Couple last things before I get into questions. I want to leave some time. This is just updates. If you don't already know, who here uses Microsoft for their communications within their organization, just a thumbs up or a hands up. A few. Okay. If you're using Microsoft, some organizations typically have applied for the free grant that Microsoft offers. It's basically giving 10 free licenses to business premium users. That is actually going to be retiring effective July 1st. So if you didn't know that already, just wanted to make that note now. However, they will be offering a different opportunity. They would be providing Microsoft Business Basic up to 300 users. You wouldn't be getting as many applications as you get with the Business Premium licenses, but it is still something. So you get more free licenses. It's just you get a basic version. And I can send Robin the link to see for those licenses, the different plans and what applications you get with which license. You also can still have an opportunity to use the business premium license with Microsoft at a 75% discount. So I think the price per user is like $5.50 per user for business premium with that discount. So it's not terrible. I mean, it's still a pretty good deal, but wanted to just make that note. Microsoft, if you are using it, will be sending reminders 30, 60, and 90 days before the expiration of that program. So just something to kind of keep an eye out. My recommendation, try to identify what licenses you have and which ones are qualified in that grant. And then just evaluate who needs what license depending on their role. No sense in paying for, someone who doesn't need all of the hoopla of all the applications that Microsoft offers, and then, have to pay for that. So always looking for ways to save money. And then lastly, Windows 10. So any operating system that's on Windows 10, the support for that for Microsoft is going to end October 14th. Of 2025. So that means there's not going to be any more security updates, bug fixes, or technical support after that date, which can increase your risk of viruses, ransomware, and data breaches. So my recommendation, find out what computers are operating on Windows 10, and what you're going to want to do is upgrade those to Windows 11. The benefit for Windows 11 is that a lot of it has built-in security tools, which is great. It's typically faster, performs better, yeah, you just want to make sure that that's on your list of things to do. Best thing to do is just have an inventory, just as a tech thing, have an inventory of all of your computers or laptops or phones and devices within your organization that you give to your employees, and then make sure you can identify which ones are operating on those Windows 10s and which ones need to be upgraded. If you have questions on that, myself and my team are happy to help kind of you navigate that. So don't feel like you can't ask questions for that. I'm happy to help. Hopefully I left enough time for questions. Sorry. So if anyone has questions on anything, I know that was a lot to cover. I am going to be sending one more PDF on kind of like all of the cybersecurity awareness training suggestions and steps, as well as some other helpful information. Robin are going to send that PDF to you via email after this. So you'll have all of that. But again, if you have questions on it, you can always reach out to me via email. I'm happy to help. But any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
I've received 2 emails separately from people that, I knew that they were not the right, like there was something fishy about it. Does that mean that they were compromised, or does that mean that I was compromised?
It typically would mean that it could be that you were still compromised. They're just posing as that person because they probably were in your environment and knew that you communicate with that person either on a fairly often basis. So that person wasn't hacked. It was typically you, and that they're just posing as that person to gain access or information.
Okay. So I let our IT person know, and then
Great.
he was okay.
Yeah. And that's the right thing to do. Let whoever handles your IT or whoever is managing that, let them know. And then typically there's like a block function or a, report spam on your email. That would be the next step after that for sure.
Thank you.
Yep. And Davina?
I was just going to make a couple mentions. I know improving the culture around cybersecurity is really important, because I know, at least for me, I run into a lot of people who think that a lot of the tools are very annoying. They prevent them from easily accessing their accounts. Oh, I have to do that 2-step authenticator thing. I have to get an authenticator app. I have to put in a code. It needs a face scan. Well, if it's easy for you to access your accounts, it's easy for them to access your accounts. That's just how it goes. And then they need you to be a willing participant in the process. They're not reaching out to you for no reason. They need you to click something. They need information from you and they need you to give it to them. And in Andy's story, he explains explicitly how he was a willing participant in the process. Yes, I gave them. Yes, I answered that question. Yes, I answered that call. So they need something from you. And then another one is just giving. We're in the space of nonprofit. And you also need to be aware if someone's reaching out saying, we're going to give you money, we're sending you that big check. I think that always gets people going. And it could be a moment where just due to excitement, you make some missteps. So just some things I wanted to mention.
Yes, thank you so much, Davina. That's so true. And I didn't hit on that, but that is, I have been seeing that more often now is we want to give you this. We need your bank account information. And you're like, sure, we'll take $100,000. Yeah. So good. It's very, very good. Thank you for calling that out. I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing. Any other questions, comments, or experiences? If you have any experiences you'd like to share, I know we're all in this together. I've been there.
Julia,
Yes.
question for you with regards to passwords. On anything that's financial, I have really strong passwords. But on some of the stuff that if it got hacked, it wouldn't causing us any money, I don't have as strong of passwords. With our work and everything, is that good or bad? Does that make they're not the same?
Right. Yeah, not the same. I think it's always best practice to always have a strong password no matter what. Hackers and threat actors, they're very savvy and they get savvier by the day and more sophisticated by the day. So even if it's something that we think, oh, this is not so much of a big deal as maybe this other tool or other application, even if they're getting access to one, you don't know how they're going to be able to get access to another. So it's always just best practice and to be in the habit of just creating strong passwords across the board. I know that there's a few tools and passwords are hard. I've been there because I've worked places where we've had the shared worksheet of like all the passwords, and that is a huge no-no, because if someone hacks that, then they have access to all your passwords. So there are different tools out there that you can look into that are password managers that require a two-factor authentication to get into the password manager that will save and keep all of those strong passwords. And typically they will generate really, really strong ones for you. There's one called LastPass. That's a really good one. That's what we use internally here at UIS. So if you're ever interested in like which tools are really helpful to use, I mean, they are an investment. And that is the thing with IT, which is, kind of hard to swallow is, at some point we do have to make an investment on certain things because ultimately it will help our employees. It helps keep us protected. And it's worth it. It does help save a little time because I know those strong passwords are hard and you don't want to be writing them down anywhere. So, but yeah, best practice, always try to keep them as strong as possible. And Kelly has a great way to generate fantastic password for anything that's very secure. And yeah, Kelly, if you're willing to share that and drop that in the chat, that'd be great. Perfect. So if anyone has any other questions or would like to learn more. Oh, we got Lynn. Sorry. Lynn.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to ask, we work all remotely in my office from our own home offices. And I personally have an Eero network in my office, and I never shut down my computers at night. I leave everything on. So when I come to my desk in the morning, I turn on my monitors, I'm ready to go to work. Should we really be shutting down our computers at night and not leaving those up?
Yeah, unless you have automatic updates that will do that overnight. So if you have an automatic software update that just does while you're
which I do, yeah.
Making sure that if you know when that's going to happen, you, of course, leave your computer on. But typically, best practice is to turn your computer off.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
And that can be a policy too that you do put in place for your employees. And again, it's, you know, as Daveen said, it is annoying. Technology can be annoying sometimes, but also it's such a powerful tool and it does help us in so many other ways. So, you know, if we can kind of live with the small headaches that we might have to do, in the long run, it just makes your organization so much more secure and ahead of the game. And again, you know, there's so many amazing organizations out there that are doing incredible work. So making sure that your missions are thriving and protected, especially with who you're serving, super, super important and definitely worth maybe the small annoyances that we deal with. Okay. And Kelly, if anyone is interested in how to generate those strong passwords, she did just put in a good little tip. So feel free to snag that. That's great.
So Julia, if people need to reach you, you had the last slide. Robin is going to send out the deck and all the information, and she will make sure your contact info. But I know you have so graciously agreed to chat with anybody if they have specific questions offline. So
Yes.
thank you so much for your time and for your expertise and
Yes.
for your patience with all of us navigating this. So be safe, everyone. Change your passwords. I know I'm going to do the same thing. I have a page full of notes here. So
Good. Love it.
much appreciated. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks, everybody. So good to meet you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.